Very positive. He's out there on the training field. We're giving him as long as we can, and he's a quick healer. So, hope springs eternal that he'll make it for the weekend.
What grade was it, Alex?
High 1. High grade 1, so it's about as good as you can get, really, in terms of injuries. If there's good, thing is good injuries. There's not, but for someone who's had a lot of them, knows how to rehab them, knows his body, and for the severity, it's as good a news as we could have hoped for.
And in terms of the other cavalry coming over the hill, is there anybody coming over the hill for this one?
Tom Curry is up for selection, which is great news. Whether or not he makes the team, I'll let the media and the press deliver that news when the time comes. Tom Ellis is also putting his bid in. Tom got injured about 5 weeks ago. Tom Ellis, as you know, and he's had a really bad season with concurrent injuries of a different nature, and he got injured, and it was one of those. At the time, we had loads of people in the back five, and you can pay people's money up front. It saves tax from our end. It's the same for the cap or whatever. And he turned around and said, "No, boss, I want to be up for selection for the final," which I just thought was a beautiful thing, innit? I know everyone probably would do, but when your time's coming to an end at a club, and potentially you've got a different horizon for you, still to be that keen and never tapping out, never once not wanting to be there for the lads, or even have that chance and possibility that he could play in a semi-final or a final. I thought that was great of him. So he's put his ticket in the hat as well, which is good.
But Dan Duplessis, no?
Oh no, I mean they were always season enders. Those ones, they were knee.
Miraculous happenings in your medical route.
Things do happen, don't they? Like little knocks are just obsolete at this time of the year because a lot of it's just pain and pain tolerance, and smaller injuries are almost neglected and ignored. Not by the medical staff; they are ethically bound, but certainly by the players in terms of them reporting them. And I'm happy to say that the place is buzzing at the moment. There's a lot of people sticking their hands up, and selection's been a right headache.
I know it's all subjective when they pick end of season teams and that, but were you surprised that when it came to picking a 10 that George wasn't in more teams?
Oh, what you mean? Team of the year stuff?
Yeah, because I know how important he's been for you and what an influence he's been.
I reported on Friday morning. So I went to the Prem Awards, and I said, lads, not a lot to report from the Prem Awards. We didn't win a thing. To a massive uproar and cheer from the lads. I don't think it was a surprise. We're actually kind of leaning in and reveling in the fact that no one really rates us. It's not a bad place to be. Do I think he should be? Without a shadow of a doubt. Like, he's been brilliant for us, and as I said in the past, I was shifted the attack and focus mentality of the international side. I believe he was a big influencer in that. But yeah, he still seems to go unrecognised for a lot of his efforts. Not in-house, he doesn't, just externally from.
Just finally, so are you cast again as the Millwall of rugby? No one likes us, we don't care?
Oh, I don't know. I think we pick up our support. We're just not as fashionable as your Bath and your Sarries. Not as flashy as Quins. Not as bold as Bristol, but we're very proud. We're enjoying ourselves, and I think we're putting a good product out there as well. You can be the judge of that. Look, we keep winning and we keep performing. We'll turn the tides of popularity, I'm sure.
Fantastic. Thank you very much indeed, Alex.
Cheers.
Hey, Al, just to pick up on the answer to that question, if you're not the flashiest side, you're not the boldest side, what are you? What is sales identity in that case?
we're a very proud northern club with some South African steel. I think we've shown unbelievable resilience over the last 5 weeks, where every game's been a knockout game. And apart from the couple of blowouts where teams have played second teams, I think we've put some of our most consistent attacking rugby out there. I think we probably scored the most in terms of points, if not bonus points, which has seen a shift in our game. So, yeah, I am massively proud to be a part of this group, for our resilience, for our physicality, for how we've been growing and adding to our game, particularly in this business end since post the Six Nations.
And is the form you're finishing the season with almost as strong a sort of currency as a home semi-final, and I'm maybe contrasting it to how last season when you obviously won a home semi-final by merit?
Yeah, I think I'd rather have form than a home semi-final, definitely. That's what pulls you through, because I've been on the other side. When we had form going into Northampton 2015, fourth place Saracens, exactly the same fixture that they're playing Friday night, and just using that kind of energy when no one else really thinks you can, and you believe and know you can, using that kind of momentum going into that game. It feels similar.
You also mentioned the selection dates and Tom Curry being back. I guess a lot of people on the outside would think that having a guy who, before his injury, was considered world-class available game would mean he would automatically come into the team. Can you just weigh up how you're going to balance that call, and particularly maybe in reference to the form of Sam Dugdale in the back row?
I try and weigh up without telling you what my selection is, or our selection, because we select as a group. You don't want to change, winning. You don't change a winning team, do you? That's like the cliche. Also want to do what's right by Tom. This is an international intensity, international quality match, this. It will be. I think for all the physicality and the ball in play time and just the quality of players that's out on the pitch. And that's a lot to ask, isn't it? Not to say we're not going to ask it of him, but a lot to ask for someone who's been out for nigh on 7 or 8 months to step into an international game. So these are the things we've got to weigh up. And that versus the quality of Sam Dugdale, who's kind of epitomises our team, doesn't he? Like, not the most popular player. In the past, not the biggest, doesn't have like a reef of Hollywood moments, but he has a lot of moments which are significant in games, and that's why he's earned those man of the matches. And he's been like, I think he's played he's been in a part of every squad of every game we've had this season. That shows his resilience and his robustness. He epitomises us, Sam.
And just one more on Tom. Have you had any discussions with Steve about whether you would like him to go to New Zealand and Japan this summer?
Who am I? It's a question. I'm not. It's not down to me. I will have a conversation. This will be between Tom and Steve, and I'll add my 2 pennies for whatever that counts.
But what would your 2 pennies worth be?
Well, if his body's good and he's fit, and it's something that Tom wants to do, and Steve needs him as a senior leader, I think it could be a good opportunity to get his career back on. And I know he wants to play for England, but understanding that he's got a limited shelf life. When do you want to play those international games? Whatever he plays in this off season will take away games from the back end of his career, guaranteed. So there's a careful management, of Tom, perhaps a bit more considered than what was in the past.
Thanks for your time.
Cheers, Dan.
Hello, it's
Hey, Nick.
Go on, Macca.
Thanks, Nick. I was just going to say, I can't think of a bloke more in tune to proving people wrong, and someone says you can't do something, you'll sort of take your jet day, we'll see about that. So no team has ever finished third and gone on and won the Premiership.
Yep.
So how are you going to turn that around?
I might even mention it. I think there's an advert out there, isn't there, for ticket sales for the semis. There's not even a sale player on the advert. It just shows you, doesn't it? Which is great. Like, we'd rather be in this position. Sod it. Use that as ammunition, and use 2 of the last 5 games, going to Newcastle, getting a result up there, first time in 8 years, going to Sarries, first time in 15 years, is it? So, as I said, this team, and I don't think it's intentionally, just because of how tight they are and how they perform, and is a team that's consistently breaking records, their own records, I guess. This one being a slightly bigger one by way of trophies, or at least opportunities for trophies. But I don't think there's a hoodoo on it. I don't think there's any kind of curse over finishing third. Just hasn't been done yet.
You'd love to be the bloke to be in charge of the first team to do it then?
Of course I would. Yeah, it's a rhetorical question, isn't it?
Just on, you mentioned this group a lot. This will be now the 3rd semi-final in 4 years, and a lot of this group have been a part of all of that. Is that sort of gathering of experience and time together sort of now all culminating, do you think, in coming towards the end of this season?
It has to. It has to towards the end of the season, and it has to every season. It's largely a different group than what played against Exeter 3 years ago, when it all came a bit too easy, I reckon, for us. Too easy for me anyway at that point in time. But the younger players within that group then came through over the next 3 years. You know, so in seeing that group get there and wanting a piece of that, they pushed themselves through to where they are now experienced, having experienced it last year. Like, Bev wasn't playing 3 years ago, and Gus and Raf and George, like, they go through the old team. It's largely a different team, but when you're able to do that, like when you're able to, as a group, like, understand where your standards are and to the levels which you should expect it to get to, it carries its kind of own momentum year in, year out. That's when you get, because whoever steps up have to step up to the expectations of what's been done before you. The shirt that you put on is a heavy shirt, and that's an expression taken from Bill Bezic. You know, it carries the weight of all the people that have gone before you, and we're starting to get, I guess, within the 4 walls, a feeling of expectation of where we should be competing. And partly that, I'm sure, is what's driven them as well, not just each other, but that. The standards that they've set over the last 5 weeks has got us to this point.
Just finally from me, you told us after the Saracens game that on the Sunday you were going to put an arm around Sam James at your drink-a-thon and see if it would maybe be possible to get another deal. Is there anything you can tell us?
Yeah, he hasn't. He's still on his merry travels. And there's like playoff games, isn't there, in the top 14 and Pro D to determine like who's got the cash to spend and stuff like that. But I did have a drink with him. Hopefully we'll have a few more. That's the aim. That's certainly what's driving me, as I've said last couple of weeks. This gives us more opportunities to make brilliant memories.
Cheers, Al.
Thank you very much.
Hello, Al. Where's that promo with none of your players on it?
I don't know. It's on the internet, innit? Someone told me about it.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's got all the other semi-finalists.
No, it was the RFU, Nick.
It's the RFU. They don't like coming up north. It's a long way from Twickenham. It's a long, long way from HQ. Yeah. I'll just flick that round. There it is. I know. Well, no one expected us to get through. Maybe they just made it before the result. Possibly.
SAS, go under the radar.
Yeah. Well, we're not now, are we? Because you're already listening, but...
anything different this week? Has Ange come in to give you a rousing team talk again? What have you been doing?
Oh no! I might do that. Yeah. I've got another. We normally we go heavy detail at the start of the week and thin slice it more about mentality end of the week. That's how it works best. Simplifying mentality. So I might get Angie in on Thursday. We've had, and in the past we've had loads. We've had people come in. We had Peacock come in last year. We had a speaker series. We've done little things, games trying to alleviate the pressure, but they've been so good in terms of how they've been in driving the internal messaging, how they've been having a crack and then just switching on, like flicking the switch really quick to having good intent and concentration. We've not really felt the need to add too much this week. We've had, as always, Wayne Hoyle in the background, just observing. He's probably in the room right now, just master of camouflage. He's XAS, SBS. And he has a little word in my ear. I'll be buzzing after the session we've had because it was high energy, and he'll tell me how bad everything is. And it brings me right down, so I have to question and look at everything again before Thursday. But that's partly his role. We've got Tim Cox coming in from Managing Futures, who've been working with us all year, just with internal comms. And these are, rather than the big flashy, fireworks and stuff and meetings which hold you for half an hour, we're coming to the understanding that it's all about all the little internal small conversations, the thousands of those that you have in and around the place that kind of give you clarity and drive your energy for the week. So we've been focusing much more on that.
Can I just get a couple of lines on a couple of players who have kind of stepped up, one pretty much all season and the other towards the end of it? James Harper, to start with.
Yeah. Strong as an ox. He's a leader of men. He's got his own business, his own disability chair business, scooters. And if you met him and spoke to him, you'd peg him as being about, middle-aged, wouldn't you, 35. He's actually 23. So he's a child in a behemoth's body.
And he does a job for you, doesn't he?
Yeah, no,
Would you have expected him to have been your first choice 3 over the course of much of the season?
We thought he'd be pushing around Christmas time, and he had a couple of injuries pre-Christmas because we've seen this potential in him, and I was harping on, pun intended, about James all last year, because of some of his physical stats and what he's been able to do in training. That's different. It's a lot more difficult to do it in games, isn't it? Under the stress of it, with the speed of the games and the what it takes out of you physically to be able to still do what he needs to do at scrum time. But he's starting to make that transition week in, week out, where he's going against good scrummagers and dominating, and still able to be violent around the rucks and the tackles. So we're seeing the player that we all knew was in him kind of coming to the bear because he's had to, because there's been very little people behind him. So I'm really happy and chuffed for him. Go on.
Sorry.
No, it's all right. I'm waffling. Go on, Nick.
Okay. The other one I was going to ask you about was Hiron Andrews.
How about Hiron? What an athlete. In the shadows at the Sharks, because they've got massive strength and depth in the back five. This was his only club that he's played at, I think, over there, professionally at least, 8 years. New owner came in, brought more players in, more back five players, and he probably fell out of favour further. So it was a phone call after Dan Dupree went down and Johnny was out. Bo, who's brilliant, but hasn't been the most robust. When I was in Switzerland, I always seem to go on recruitment drives on my holidays. My missus loves it. So I'm in Switzerland, I'm like, we need to go on a drive here because we can put a pin in our season. We need a caller. We need someone who's athletic who can win a line out. We've got enough bangers, haven't we? Got enough people who can run round and crack skulls, but we need someone who can add that kind of subtlety in our attack and also win us the ball in the line out. And looking through them all, he was just the best of that type of athlete. 6'8", 110, 112 Ks, super athletic, moves really well, and he's got a bigger punch, bigger bang in contact than what his physique would suggest. His timing's really good. Lovely bloke, little kid called Hendrix, who's kind of 1 year old, and a Mrs. Marlene from America who wanted the experience, who wanted to kind of get out of being in South Africa, who wanted to come and experience a club that they get looked after, an opportunity, and that was it. It was just like, can we give you a shop window opportunity, not to say that there isn't room here, and we're looking to keep him on moving forward for another year. So it's been a really good move for him and for us. A lot of love for him. Sorry, go on.
Sorry, I'm not very good at this delay, am I? Apologies. Are you looking? I know you talked about this already. Are you any closer to securing him next season?
Yeah, it's just in with the agents, and we've pretty much agreed on terms. So then they've just got to flesh out the details, and then when it goes back to agents, they're like solicitors. They'll just drag it out as long as they can to make sure they're getting they seem like they're doing their job. I'm sure we'll get there because we both want to work together. So we both want to work together, then it generally sorts itself out.
Brilliant. Thanks, Al. Enjoy the week.
Cheers, Nick. I'll see you on Saturday.
Yeah.
We're good. There you go.
It was a defeat by Bath at the Rec that sort of started this late run in. How much is that game feeding into the sort of motivation, and how much did that play into, say, the end of season form?
Bit of a catalyst, I'd say. At the time, we went back to that game and looked at the last kind of 20 minutes to see, on review again, as to what the fixes were 5 weeks ago. And post that, there was player meetings. We had player meetings before that, actually. There was just, they took more on again post that game because it was a do or die situation from there on in. So yeah, catalyst, because they forced us to the table, didn't they? They actually did. If we got a win there, then you might have been able to lose another game, but it meant that we had to win every game.
Was there anything in particular from that game, or was that just sort of the sort of maybe straw that broke the camel's back in terms of messaging, and then it just all turned around thereafter?
Bit of set piece. You'd say that last 20, scrum pens, maul tries, and then you're chasing the game, and then it blows out to the scoreline it did. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, Alex.
Cheers, buddy.
Afternoon, Al. Will Allison's signing was confirmed this morning. Exciting to be welcoming him back to the club. Are you confident, considering the number of injury issues he's had down the years, that with kind of examples like Manu, that you can get him fit and firing and available as much as possible?
Yeah, we are confident. And if you look at his injury record that he's had recently, like, he's been really robust last couple of years. You find these things, these kind of concurrent injuries come in spates, and then your luck turns and you have a couple of good years of it. So we've done our due diligence with him. He's been in, obviously, and had his medicals done and stuff, and he's on good form. He's playing well, was playing well.
Not exactly the same player as Sam James, but kind of is that part of the motivation of bringing him in terms of filling that type of super versatile back?
Yeah, and it's the experience he brings to a relatively inexperienced back three. You take flats out of that, but the other guys are young. And he's versatile, which really helps. We've got a few of them, haven't we? Let's not forget Wasaya, Naya Savalu. He's a game breaker as well.
Dan asked about Sam Dugdale. He got man of the match in the win over Saracens. Do you think externally he might start getting some of the credit perhaps that he does? Because he's not a Curry, he's not a Dupree, not necessarily the sexiest name, but he's kind of taken his game on from a level of being consistently good to being able to put in performances like that against a good team with a pretty decent back row the Saracens had that day.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope he gets recognition for his efforts and his consistency in that regard. Yeah, he should do, shouldn't he? You're doing it now. You mentioned him. He's getting there, isn't he?
think, kind of going back to the end of season awards, you were the only representative of the club that was up for any awards. We kind of joke a little bit about it, but is that not a worrying thing that there's been this debate about the North-South and the North being ignored? That this kind of backs it up without wanting to kind of take it into a deep tone. It's an important issue, isn't it? Not?
It's important if we're looking to increase the sponsorship and ticket sales, and that literally puts food on the table for the 150 families that are employed and connected to the club. That's why it's important. San Antonio Spurs, who have been like one of the best teams in the NBA for a long, long time, actually pride themselves on the fact they don't have that many kind of MVP players. They're never featuring a lot in the Hall of Fame. Some of their players individually, because of their ability to perform and win over time with the team. You know, maybe that's where we're at. I'd much rather have that way, be reliant on the team, of which my nomination was a representative of, wasn't it? Because we get to fourth and you're automatically selected as a DOR nominee. That's the only reason. So their performances and success have got me the nomination, and their overall team performances, which have got us there, I feel would be recognition enough. Like I say, we're not sucking on lemons here. They actually cheered when none of us got a nomination for anything, apart from Buck, who got nominated for the second most tries scored, which is a ridiculous nomination in itself, isn't it?
Nick was asking about James Harper. Has there been anything in particular that has changed for him, whether it's perhaps just staying injury-free? There seems to have been a big step up from him over the last sort of 5 games compared to maybe 6-12 months ago.
Yeah. Consistency performing. His body's better. Like, he's managing his body's better. So he's getting through games. He's a bit more robust with that, so he can train harder in the week. That takes a bit of while just to kind of because, like I say, he looks like he's been in the game because of his physical size, but your neck has to kind of stiffen up a bit as a tight head. You know, some of the smaller muscles that you use within your core and everything else just have to get a bit stronger, along with your huge kind of squatting muscles that he's obviously got. So there's all of that, just a bit of maturity, I guess, in his physical development that's helped him. And I think his mental development as well. He's a lot more self-assured and certain of what he's going after in games, and so he's not going into games overthinking it. Propping his kinesthetic. By that I mean you have to have your head shoved up your arse to know you get yourself out of that position, and that's happened to him now. Now he's shoving other people's heads up their arses, isn't he? So he's got to a level of physical capability and mental stability that means he's able to perform consistently well. He's still going up against one of the strongest loose heads in the league on Saturday, so another test for him.
Gus Krevy is leaving at the end of the season. Are you looking externally to replace, or do you have the belief in guys like Ethan Kane that they can step up next season to be a third choice? Yeah,
at the moment, and look at him train today. He's not far off. We're always looking to open the pathways up for players we've brought through. That's our policy now.
Just one final one. With some of the longer term injuries, Johnny Hill, Dan Dupree, is there a rough timescale that you can give us as to sort of where their recovery is at and when they might be fit? Yeah,
I think they're fit like second. So working back from the start of the Prem, 14th, 7th, around the 7th of September.
Okay.
Yeah, to the beginning of September.
Right. Cheers, Al. Thank you.
Hi, Al.
Hey, you all right?
Yeah, very well, thanks.
I've just warned you, we've got about 6 minutes left, and that's...
Yeah, I'll just fire in with a couple then. Just backing up what you said about Tom Curry being back almost to the point of return. If he does